I'm Jamie Scott, and I'm involved in League of Women Voters Pasadena area, and with Darlene Green, we're co-chairing the subcommittee on housing and homelessness. And so this is the first of our hopefully several uh, presentations. This is by Rob Haw, and who's up in the upper corner. Um, and Rob is a physicist and engineer who retired from NASA and JPL, and became very interested in climate change. Of course, was at the time as well, and initiated two important groups in the area. One, Pasadena 100, that I'm a member of actually, and also the Citizens Climate Lobby for this area to fight climate change in various ways. And he also became extremely interested in passive houses, which he's going to talk to us about today. He was even involved in writing legislation for the California government to take on the standards of of uh, uh, this international group that have set up standards for passive houses. And with that, I will turn this over to Rob.
Well, thank you, Jamie, for that introduction. And it's really nice to be here with y'all this morning. Thank you for inviting me. Uh, you all probably know that Earth has a fever, you know. And I did make this change to green buildings from my after I retired from JPL, just to do, see one more small thing I might be able to do to help fix what's wrong. And so in this, I probably should bring this up now.
Yeah,
Um,
there you go.
so can you see it?
Yep.
Does everybody see this,
Yes.
It's Rob,
yeah,
yeah,
clicked on
you're
the
gonna have
wrong
to
one.
make it big because you didn't click on the right box.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there's a box there just for your slides.
How's that?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
now we can see, and it's taking up the whole screen.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. So um, I just wanted to make the point about just sort of full disclosure about, that's I'm working as a consultant now. This is a small company I have. So I'm a consultant on energy performance for homes and buildings, in a small way. And so kind of with that as background, I'd like to talk to you this morning about resiliency to fire and climate and the homes we need. So let's and if you have any questions, just hold them till the end or write it in the chat box, and we'll get to it at the very end. But so let's start with a definition. Um, did that go for it with everyone? I guess it does. Yeah. Okay. So resilience, it's the ability to recover from unexpected shocks. Um, Wait a minute. Okay. And so it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that gas lines are not fire resilient. So how can we minimize future losses to our homes and loved ones as the climate crisis accelerates? So let's just pause for a moment and let's imagine the homes that we'd like to have. How could we describe them? They'd be cool in the heat, warm in the cold, no drafts, clean air, no pollution, no mold, no bugs, no dust in the house. They'd be quiet. They would use, a paucity of energy, low energy bills. And with low energy bills comes a dwelling that's affordable to live in, and they would be fire resilient. So that kind of a home it's not imaginary. It's science. And here's how we make it happen. We just apply basic building physics. We balance energy losses with energy gains. And it turns out that saving energy brings along many other benefits that we value even more. So, greater energy efficiency leads to greater comfort and health. And then, when you're striving for greater comfort and health, that in turn leads to even greater efficiencies. And, and saving energy is one way to bring this curve under control. This shows the rising levels of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. There are other greenhouse gases also in our atmosphere, such as methane coming from natural gas. They're called greenhouse gases because they heat up the atmosphere just like a greenhouse heats up the air inside. But by that heating action, that action is throwing Earth's energy balance out of equilibrium. The world is warming up and it's happening faster. Extreme heat kills 1 person per minute now worldwide. Extreme heat is the leading weather-related cause of deaths. It claims more lives annually than hurricanes, floods, and tornadoes combined. So one woman's response here in Pasadena to extreme weather, extreme heat, was to flee the city. And that's okay. That's a perfectly rational response to getting away from the heat. Um, Although it is a round planet, so eventually it's all going to catch up with you. So I want to talk about another kind of response, a way for us to help heal the earth even while staying busy with our own individual priorities. And so here's an outline for the remainder of the presentation. I'll start with passive house. Now, all that is, it's just a construction method, of a set of steps to build a house, but one which systematically offers a safe and sure way forward into uncertain times. It future-proofs your house. Now, in the interests of time, I'm going to skip over this icon here on carbon sequestering materials that can go into passive house. But if there's any interest in this topic or anything else that comes up in this presentation, I'm willing to give a follow-up presentation. But then after getting into a house, maybe a passive house, electrification is very important in existing homes or in a new home. And then sourcing that electricity with clean energy is important. And if you follow all these steps, you wind up with a truly zero carbon building. Now, if you are building a new house, and there are several people in Altadena and out in the Palisades doing this right now, a passive house is a very good choice. But you don't have to be rebuilding. You can be living in an existing house, and everything I'm saying from this point onward would still apply in even an existing house. And so with passive house, think of it as a home wrapped with like a thermos-like enclosure, like a Yeti cooler. It keeps the heat in the winter, and it keeps the heat out in the summer. Passive house brings with it heat resiliency and fire resiliency. So can you find the passive house here? So here, this this is an infrared photograph, and the passive house stands out very starkly. You can see the oranges and reds and yellows. That's where heat is escaping from all these other dwellings. And this unit, which was renovated to passive house standards, uh, keeps the heat inside. Many of you may have this cookbook or heard of it, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. It's a way of mastering elements of good cooking with just these four components. How we use fundamental ingredients matters. And it's the same with Passive House. Passive House has these ingredients, and you follow these, sincerely and rigorously, and you will wind up with a passive house every time. So a passive house has a favorable form factor to it. That's like the geometry of the building, the shape. Passive house is thermal bridge free, a bit of a nerdy term, but it essentially also relates to the geometry of the building, the architecture, and how it's shaped. Passive house has super insulation and high performance windows. That's very important. And the and really though it comes down to the passive house's superpower is its air tightness. That's another feature of the passive house. Passive houses also have smart ventilation. And here in Southern California, especially, it's important to have summertime shading because you don't want a lot of sun coming through those windows and heat and overheating the house from within because it is super insulated. But if you take these 6 steps, you will get a long-lasting, durable home and one that has an upfront capital cost of a little bit more, around 4 to 5% more than a traditional legacy build. Of course, that's probably a lot of, I mean, everything has gone up so much in price, right? Even just a regular, as cheap as you can build legally home is very, very expensive. So 4 to 5% is significant. But as part of the total cost, it's not a real big upper. So you do all that and you get a human-centered space that provides comfort, health, and stability. It's quiet, homogeneous temperatures, and no drafts. And low power demand. And that brings down utility bills. So here's a passive house in Sunnyvale, all electric. And this is a graph. I apologize for that. Sometimes these aren't great to look at on a screen. But there's just 3 lines here to look at. This is energy use on the left-hand side, the vertical column. This top line here represents the mean or the average of energy use of all the homes in the zip code that this home is located in. And the middle line is the predicted passive house performance. And the bottom line is the actual measured electricity use in this home. And it's 1/4 as much as the average use of all the other neighboring homes in its zip code. It really saves on energy. However, most of the energy in California homes now comes from gas, from burning, gas, the gas utilities that we have, the gas appliances. But electrification can help future-proof your home, and Passive House makes that easy. If you're really interested in diving in deep, this book is a tome really on electrification. It's an excellent book, lots of detail. If you just want some practical information on electrifying your home and rebuilding safe, this website has lots of information in it it's local, so it has electrifying your home information, rebuilding safe, rebuilding with fire resiliency. So this website and the links within is a good resource. And what does home electrification look like? Well, of that two-thirds of gas that I mentioned that is used in most California homes, half, pretty much half of that gas goes to heating water. Almost half, over a third, is goes to space heating or heating your rooms. And then there's gas, of course, used for cooking. And then there's also drying clothes. So you replace those four appliances and you've pretty much fully electrified your house. Just four appliances. I went to the Home Depot site and just got some recent costs, what these things cost. So an electric induction stove bought new is around $1,600 versus $1,000 for a new gas stove, a clothes dryer, an electric heat pump clothes dryer, around $800, that same cost for a gas dryer. And a water heater, an electric water heater will be around for a heat pump water heater is around $1,600 compared to $1,000 for a new gas water heater. So those are not insubstantial amounts, but you make up that difference within a few years on all the energy you save because the heat pump and induction ways are very energy efficient. And then for heating your home, conditioning it, heat pumps are a very good component because not only do they heat the home, they also, the same unit cools the home. So it's like a twofer. This unit will both heat and cool your home, these heat pumps. So I don't recommend rushing out right at the moment and replacing your furnace and air conditioner, but if the time comes where those need to be, switched out, it really makes good sense to put in one of these. And if you have a small home, a single zone heat pump will probably work just fine. If you have a larger home, say a 2,000 square foot passive house home, then maybe a multi-zone heat pump in these orange. So for this size of a home, perhaps a two-zone heat pump. And these costs are from a couple of 2 or 3 years ago, so they may have gone up a little bit. But you're talking around 7,000, perhaps $8,000 for a two-zone heat pump installed. And let install rooftop solar if you can afford it. Place as many panels on your roof as you can. This is just, it's free. The sunlight is free. Nobody is going to charge you for it. You got to pay up front for the panels, but then it's free. Whatever energy you're getting from that, and it's clean energy. A lot of people, though, are reluctant to electrify because they say upgrading the electric panel is going to be so expensive, and it is. It's a substantial upgrade. But you can do it if you have just a 100 amp panel. You can still electrify your home. And this is an example. It's a very busy slide. I'm not going to go through all of these points here. But for this 2,000 square foot home, which has an 100 amp panel, you can this shows how to map out a totally electrified house on this size of panel, including a port for charging an electric vehicle. So it can be done with just a little bit of thought in advance to electrify a house with a 100 amp panel. So just focusing on a more specific example, this is one household's all-electric transition between 2009 and 2012. And what you see here, it's another graph, I know, but on the left is the gas use, how much gas, you're in your bill that you're being charged for. This shows 6 years worth of that gas use. These first 3 years here were before the transition, and this shows wintertime peaks of that gas use. And then this transition began, and you can just see how much the gas use drops. First, a solar water heater was placed on the roof. Then attic insulation was installed. Then a house or space heating heat pump was installed. And just look at these little dots dropping now. Then a heat pump water heater was installed to augment the solar water heater because, in the short days in the winter, lots of clouds, it wasn't heating the water sufficiently. So this really made a big difference. And then wall insulation was installed, and then an induction cooktop was, and that just eliminates all the gas use in the house. It just brought it right down to zero. So this is an example of how to electrify your house. And the same household, if we fast forward to July 2025, this shows um, the savings with solar panels on the roof. So there's a comparison here, which was provided kindly by Southern California Edison, a comparison of energy use just between homes with solar on the roof. And this home that we're discussing um, saves around $300 a month compared to other houses with solar, but those which haven't implemented those energy conservation measures that I just pointed out. That's $300 a month. That's pretty significant. So they do make a difference, those upgrades. So in existing homes, if you want to bring down power bills, insulate, insulate, and insulate, and weather seal any of those cracks under the doors and windows. The passive house advantage is that you'll get a very large reduction in your air equipment, your conditioning equipment sizing, both heating and cooling. So let me describe what I think are the reasons to electrify your home. So one is for your health. Much higher indoor air quality, both because of I was describing how you're keeping out dust and pollen from the outside, but also an electrified house eliminates combustion byproducts that are occurring inside the house, right? From cooking in the kitchen and downstairs with heating water, perhaps, or wherever the closet where you heat water. There's this safety issue. Clearly, not having gas and combustion in the house reduces fire risk. And the climate, eliminating combustion in your house eliminates heat trapping pollution. And then there's the cost file. I mean, your utility bills will go way down as I've described, especially if you can constrain demand and you install rooftop solar, which offsets your bills considerably. And then, just on the other side is just the volatility of gas rates. They're almost guaranteed to rise and maybe rapidly in the coming years. Insurance. Will probably be, if it hasn't already emerged, a tiered rate system with home insurance regarding both houses that are built to a high fire standard as well as electrified homes. And if you're building new, if you were unfortunate enough to lose a house or you have another house you're just building, starting, going all electric will actually save you some money up front. You Around $30,000 can be saved by eliminating the installation of the gas line infrastructure in the house and the labor that's associated with that installation. If you want to electrify and you're keen on letting your neighbors know, this is a yard sign that you can place in your front yard. And if you're interested in having a yard sign like this, just contact me or the organizers of this webinar, and one of these will be delivered to you free, no charge. So now I want to just focus on a particular house in the rebuild area in Altadena. So many homeowners, not all, are indeed choosing to rebuild all electric. And moreover, at least a dozen all electric passive house homes are planned at this time in Altadena. Now, There's one of those passive houses that I'll just look at in a little detail here. It's a three-bedroom, 1,800 square foot home. Its equipment includes heat pumps, rooftop solar, and a gray water system. It will be a traditional build, meaning it's what you're accustomed to seeing, an on-site crew with a wood frame. It'll be a wood framed house, but it will have many fire resilient features to it. This is what the house looks like just from above. And I'm pointing out these solar panels here on the roof that will be installed, along with a home battery on the back. And I point these out because I'm going to just refer to this number in a moment. So this house, this which is going to be is just under construction now, but it is being built to the passive house standard. It will be all electric as I've described. Now, this is an energy model of this house. Here on the left is the energy that is expected to be used in that house over 1 year. This is all this energy comes from electricity. There's no gas whatsoever. But what's happened here is energy use has been flipped on its head. If you recall that pie chart of a while ago where we talked about energy use and gas being half of the use, here, this is the domestic hot water generation. That's all that's expected to be used. It's a very diminutive amount of energy over a whole year. Heating is almost non-existent in the house because expected to be used. And remember, this is electric heating. I mean, very small. Cooling is more energy is devoted to that. This is Southern California, but it's still quite small. The largest single component is just illumination and devices in the house. So that's what consumes most of the energy. Now, and if you take these numbers in the middle, and I'm just saying this is the energy use. So you just add these up. You add up how much energy is in this is used for each of these columns, and it's less than this number up here, the number coming from the rooftop solar. So that means this is a net zero energy home. And that means low to zero energy costs for the whole year. Here are some other notable features of this house. It will be airtight. As I mentioned, that's part and parcel of a passive house. This is not an image of the house I'm describing, but it's representative of another house. This is the airtight layer right here. The house will come with a ventilation system. And the Blue Ribbon Commission on Climate Action and Fire Safe Recovery highly recommends passive house as a fire resilient building technique. They call it out. They say these homes are, super duper to build if you're concerned about fire safety. The reason behind this, I mean, there's many fire resilient techniques you can apply to any building, but what is really stands out with a passive house is its air tightness, and that contributes to its fire resiliency. So by combining air tightness with a continuous supply of filtered fresh air, this house will offer a very healthy living space. It'll be both fire resistant and smoke resistant. And I just want to make that point because that is pretty important based on the experience we've had over the last few years. This is from Australia when they had really large fires there a few years ago. Another graph, the last one, I promise. On the left in the vertical axis is the particulate count in the air. It's how dirty the air is, the ash, the smoke in the air. So 400 is an extremely high number, and that was the outdoor measurement at this site in Australia. This was a passive house that this gentleman took these measurements from, with a single standard passive house filter in place already. That brought this outdoor level of count of smoke and ash, roughly halved it. And then you augment the one filter with a second filter, and you just slip it in. There's a place in the machine for it. You add the second filter, and look at this. Look at how it drives down the, the level of particulates, and it just keeps the air completely healthy. This dashed line is where the World Health Organization recommends as a safe count. So super performance of the passive house. So just quickly to describe other fire resilient features that you can have on any house, including a passive house. So this may look like wood cladding on the side here, but it's not. It's fire safe. It's something called hardy plank. It's a combination of cement and sawdust, but it's fireproof. But they can design it to look like it has a wood grain. Or you can put stucco. Stucco is also fire resilient. You want to have a fire rated roof, and you also want to install ember proof gratings in attic openings just to keep that upper part of your house safe. So really quickly now, I want to just describe an alternate way that is being used to build houses in Altadena. Several of the homes I've discussed are going up using prefabricated wall and roof assemblies. Some of those will be passive house. The advantage to prefabrication is labor savings. The on-site crew time is significantly reduced, like from, roughly 4, 5, 6 months to about a week. The cost for component parts is around the same. So you're not saving money on parts, but you are saving it on labor. The disadvantage to prefabrication is that the foundation and piping must be laid in advance with a different crew, and that leaves only a tiny margin for error. But a lot of those issues have been worked out, and there are at least two prefab companies operating in Altadena, Collective Carpentry and B. Public. This is an example of the Collective Carpentry's wall panels, and they're being craned into place here. They're delivered by flatbed truck, and then they're picked up and craned into place. This is an image of a model of a passive house built with these panels and roof assemblies. So they're certainly into building passive house, this company. And then here's a B Public wall panel, also delivered by truck and then craned into place. And this is an example of just an image of a B Public home that is going to be built in Altadena. They've actually got this image of the house, the plans. So this won't be a passive house, but it still looks like a pretty fine house. There are incentives to go all electric or to build passive house. If you're in Edison territory, as most of us are in Altadena, there's the Rise Homes program. And out in the Palisades, for example, under the auspices of LADWP, they have a similar kind of program. So just to recap what I've been saying is it's important to electrify everything in your house. That's a really important goal, but equally important is reducing demand. Drive down the amount of electricity you're using. And I talked about insulating the house. And ways to do that, a passive house can help with that. Think of leveraging passive house as a tool for exercising resilience. And you combine all that with clean energy, and it yields a healthy, comfortable home, which significantly contributes to climate action. And that's all I have to say for this morning. Now's time for questions if there are any.
Yeah, so that was great, Rob. Thank you so much. I've put your email address in the chat, but Sandy mentioned to me that you might have another. I put your Gmail address that we've been
Oh,
using in the chat. If you want to add another one, just add it in the chat, and that way
yeah.
anyone here can contact Rob. But now we're going to have a question and answer period, and I just want to remind everyone that the recording is on because some people came after I mentioned that. So, yeah, Rob, time to take questions. And oh, also, we're supposed to be ending at 11 o'clock, but this Zoom has another half hour attached to it. So if you want to talk to Rob in more detail, no problem. Yeah. All right. Well, Rob, do you want to take your own questions?
Um, yeah, were there any in the chat here? I'm not, um,
No, I put some things in the chat.
okay, I don't see any questions there. So I don't know if
Well,
there, yeah, are there any?
I do see one. My insurance company is offering policy discounts for IBHS standards. Can you relate IBHS to what you were talking about? And that is from Debbie.
Um, no, they're not, there's not a, I'm not even familiar with IBHS, so I wouldn't be able to respond on
Debbie, do you
that.
want to talk about it in some more detail and maybe, I don't know if you're there, but if you turn off your, oh, no. Okay, so she didn't want to talk about it. Okay. Um, Are there any other questions from people?
I have a question. I just wanted to ask about light colored roofs. Like, is there any um benefit to having like a lighter colored roof to reflect the heat? Does that help at all or not? Or no?
Yes, that's um, a light colored roof as well as what's called a cool roof. I mean, that's a fairly standard product now is a cool roof. So it's called a cool roof because um, it has components on the upper surface which reflect heat. Okay, you can't even they're not color dependent. So you can have any color roof and still have one of these roofs. But if it's also light colored, then you are reflecting even more light, and so it is very helpful. Yes.
I think Darlene had a question and then Rosalie did.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. I wanted to just ask you if you were advising, a lot of the fire survivors in Altadena have limited insurance coverage, and if they were rebuilding, what specific upgrades would you prioritize to maximize their, for the electrification upgrades? Which ones would you prioritize for them? Because a lot of people are not going to be able to do all of them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. No, I understand. So first and foremost, I would recommend replacing the water heater.
Okay.
Not so so as I said, um, don't I mean they'll save money right up front by just electrifying. We're talking about a rebuild, a total rebuild now, right? So
Well,
don't
actually, the question is two parts for those people that are rebuilding and some people that are currently, that didn't lose everything, that are still in their homes, that
oh
need to do that as well. So it's actually basically for both sides.
yeah.
That would be
Well,
helpful.
so for the total rebuild,
Mm-hmm.
as I mentioned, they'll save money up front just by not bringing a gas line into the house.
Okay.
Which in avoided cost would already pay for those four appliances I mentioned, the heat pump and the heat pump water heater, the heat
Mm-hmm.
pump space heater, an induction cook, electric an electric induction cook stove, as well as a heat pump clothes dryer. So, but um, given set of priorities, or say someone in an existing house, I would recommend replacing your water heater first
No?
with a heat pump water heater,
Okay.
and then next to that, it's not the biggest user of gas, but I think that it would be most expedient to replace the clothes dryer if they have a gas-fired clothes dryer. That's very straightforward
Okay.
with what's called a heat pump dryer, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's important to differentiate between just an electric clothes dryer, which is using what's called resistive heating.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the old style under the desk heater, kind of where you turn it on and it kind of glows red because it's heating up an element, a metal element that's resistive heating, and that's very inefficient. And there's clothes dryers that operate on that principle, which use a lot of electricity. That's why everybody has gas dryers, right?
Right. Hmm.
Um, so what I'm speaking of are heat pump clothes dryers, and they don't use very much electricity. The trade-off is with time. They do take longer to dry your clothes. Um, and then and then by all means, if people are have anything left in their budget, uh, and it's time to replace a furnace, say a gas furnace, shut that down or pull it out, or with if you know the serviceman will do that, and replace it with heat pump space heaters that can call it conditioning, room conditioning. Because remember, it does both. It does both cooling and heating, and so it's quite a bargain.
Okay. And I definitely have some, like, I know you talked about, I mean, when Jamie introduced you, she talked about some policy decisions that you've made. I would love to kind of play your brain about what public policy changes you would think we could make in California to assist us, but I'll email you that. That's a longer conversation.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I'd be happy to.
Thank you so much.
I'll just jump in. I'm
Is that my hand?
Rosalie, and thank you very much, Robert. Uh, I I don't want people to hate me, but I moved from a more expensive house 6 or 7 years ago, and I'm very grateful that things came. I had a wonderful construction crew. I it, and I have ended up with a lot of the features of a passive house. So I have learned a lot in this conversation. I didn't, so now you're giving me more vocabulary. So I, back then, 6 or 7 years ago, everything was less expensive, including the house. And it doesn't look like a prefabricated, but I think they don't look, if they're well designed, they don't look prefabricated. So my home has one room added on that probably was a garage, and then another garage built. So it was publicized as a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. Well, I wasn't looking for a 3-bath, but the house was fine. And I started with wanting new windows, and that started the whole thing, because then I got into the walls. And then it got in, and then city coding. So the question about a cool roof, that's what Pasadena requires.
Yeah, yeah.
So then what happened is I had to have the foundation. So see that prefabricated, my ears perked up when you talked about, of course, the house has to be attached to the foundation, and that was major work for the building crew. So, and then I brought in appliances because this kitchen didn't have any. And then we decided, I decided to step by step, these things that you've been talking about, an electric dryer. And then it was natural to go with an electric furnace heat pump. And that the closet had to be refigured a little bit. But and then for the extra room that was added on, we added a what did you call it? That extra little mini split.
Oh, yeah.
Is that mini split like what you were talking about?
Well, yeah, the mini splits are the ones that have it's up, the air handler is up right on the ceiling, or not ceiling, the wall up near the ceiling. And then the compressor, the outdoor unit, is sort of just located outside the wall, on the outside part of the wall. So there's no ducting that's required for the mini splits.
So finally, one more thing is, of course, with all this electrification, I wanted to add a charger for a car, even though I don't have one yet. Um, so I was doing major work, and the panel was part of it.
Oh,
I I knew I needed, because I got a new electric range, inductive range. I knew I needed 220 electricity. So that's my story, and I'm grateful to have the story, and have the home. And thank you very much for your
well,
information.
those are wonderful upgrades, Rosalie. So good for you.
Thank you.
Make sure to insulate your attic too, though, if you haven't done that yet.
So George Vine has a question that was in the chat. Did all your numbers include California electric rates? Oh, yeah. Did all your numbers include California electric rates, the second highest in the country? So he wanted to know if you were using those really high rates, second highest in the country. I think
To
you were using local, weren't you?
for what? For my cost estimates or something?
Yeah, George, do you want to mention what you meant by that? You're on mute right now.
Yeah, yeah, the cost estimate, the electric bill estimates,
That's just that one example home that I was describing.
which
Uh,
was California rates, huh?
no, it was Southern
Oh,
California Edison rates.
oh yeah, okay. And if you were just to replace all your appliances and switch from gas to electric, would that be financially feasible if you weren't installing solar?
Well, so which you're just talking about, are you talking about including heat pumps? Heat pumps, because if you do the energy,
Everything,
yeah,
everything.
if
I'm
you
talking
do the
about
energy
everything.
con, so if you do the energy conservation upgrade, which, and by that I mean lots of insulation and weather sealing and replacing any broken windows, then you're still reducing demand a lot, and yes, and they still will be cost effective.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm also including in that, so that would be so for example, the water heater and for the space heating. For the cooktop, I mean, you're just saving health there. I mean, there's an awful lot of money that you can attribute to a health savings, right? You're just improving the quality of the air by not having those. I mean, they're invisible gases. You can't see them, right? When they're coming off the burning, that's the combustion that's happening at the cooktop. But they are there, and I mean, it's like, 2 or 3 times a day you're standing over that. So it does build up, and so that's a terrific savings just in health. I
Thank you.
hopefully that
Yeah.
answered. I hope that answered your question. And as for without installing rooftop solar, that there are various business plans. Sometimes you can not sometimes you can find companies that will install r panels on your roof, and they'll do it for no charge. But they'll do that, and they'll want to use some of that electricity. So essentially, you'll be paying them a fee. You won't be paying them quite as much as you'd be paying Edison or some other company. But you wouldn't be getting the electricity. You wouldn't be getting the 100% offset. You wouldn't be getting all of the electricity for your use, but you would have them installed for free. That's one business plan. Another is you can just buy now, pretty much now or very soon, what's called plug-in solar or balcony solar panels. These are You just buy 2 or 3 panels max, and not a lot, but you can just plug it into an outlet, a regular old wall outlet, and that won't offset all of your house use, but it will offset, like, say, your refrigerator's use. So that's a fairly significant use of electricity, and that would bring down costs. And the plug-in solar is, just literally that. You just, you know, uh, put it on, clamp it to a balcony or place it outside in the yard, just and plug it into the wall, and that would work. So that's also another way that's very cost effective of offsetting electricity.
I have a
Um,
question.
yes.
when I was doing my work in 2000 and 2001, I don't mean that, 20, I'll get it right, 2020, for a couple of years, Pasadena was offering to buy people's extra electricity. I'm going to assume that they still do that.
I think they do. Sandy probably knows better than me what their latest plan is.
Yeah,
So that's a
to
big
address
deal.
that, or Jamie may be able to address that. Pasadena still has the NEM1 plan, which essentially says if you're generating electricity and putting it back into the grid, they're paying for it at the retail rate. Jamie, does that sound right? And I would kind of expect that is going to go away
Right,
somewhere
they-
along the line, but right now they're still maintaining it. But as I would mention, as Jamie mentioned, Pasadena also has a program now where if you install rooftop solar or if you install batteries, they have rebates on the cost of that.
Yeah, and I think for people in Altadena, and Darlene probably knows a lot more about this, that SCE, Southern California Edison, that serves Altadenans, I believe, is that right? Is it all of
Yeah.
Altadena?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have various, you know, I guess rebate plans or
Yeah,
whatever.
they have like three. They have like three that we're actually rolling out to the community right now that are pretty fantastic for those type of things. They're available on our website.
Oh, it's on your website.
Yeah,
Okay.
it should be. The new website's coming up, but they've actually been coming to our town council meetings. And we actually, if anybody needs that information, they can certainly reach out to any one of the council members for those sheets. And then I have a Southern California Edison contact that's happy to go over that information with folks that are interested.
Yeah, I think the Rise program I mentioned is one of those.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to that link that I showed in the presentation, and then there's another one called the Switch program, which is used also for electrification. So yeah, but I don't have you go to the town council website and get that information.
Yeah, Golden State rebates, I'm reading. I did a Claude search. Federal IRA tax credits that supposedly go until 2032, but
No,
I think
that's
Claude is all wrong about that. And
Yeah.
then for HVAC, they have something. It
Yes.
sounds like.
They're actually working on a couple of things in response to a lot of issues in Altadena right now. But yeah, there's a few that are pretty good.
This lists this thing called the Switch is On that is an incentive finder. Switch
Yeah.
is
It's
on
it's sort of a portal, and they've got lots of information about rebates and incentives and contractors and stuff like that. They're a real useful resource.
Okay, I just put that in the chat. And then Rob, we're almost done here, but I looked up the IBHS, and that's insurance companies' program for house hardening that includes a few things. Some of it has to do with landscaping, but then Sandy, do you want to mention that? Because you added to what I had said. Part of it is they want a Class A house, a roof, which is that part of the passive program?
No. So all of these requirements in a program like this can be added to a passive house, but they're not part of the passive house standard itself. I mean, they can just be it can be augmented with these though. Passive house is more basically about the bones of the house. Okay. I mean, it's like this air tightness business and the insulation in the walls. So that's how you get the fundamental improvement in performance. And then these other more cosmetic, and I don't mean that in a demeaning sense, okay, but they're more superficial on the outside, which are fine. I mean, that's
like those planks you talked about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Jamie, I've been learning a little bit about this in the rebuild committee for the Fire Collaborative, and my understanding about IBHS is it's basically oriented towards making the house fireproof as much as possible. So it has to do with the materials, like you said, it has to do with landscaping, roof materials. As Rob said, it somewhat overlaps a little bit of the passive house thing. There are requirements for ember-proof vents. There's the fireproof siding, that type of thing. But like Rob said, it really doesn't address all the issues about insulation and air sealing, electrification, all that. No thermal bridges. That's not really I don't think is in the IBHS standards.
Really, so they don't talk
So-
about getting rid of gas, even though gas
No.
is kind of scary?
I think it's basically if a fire happens near you, this is how to make sure your home doesn't burn. And I think that's sort of what what's behind those standards.
All right.
May
Okay.
I just
Yeah, so
add
go
very-
ahead, Rosalie.
Thank you. Very briefly, what's on my mind, everybody loves a wooden fence to look at, but these days I'm very grateful for the one brick fence that I have on my property. So that's on my mind, is how to talk with my neighbors, and if necessary, just I've got one neighbor who they don't see that fence like I do. So anyway, working that out, but it's on my mind how to make a non-wood fence.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's
Right, and
you
now
want a
the
non-combustible fence.
Neighborhoods are getting together and looking at what's on their street. And then they can sometimes get discounts on their insurance by virtue of doing this fire resistant planning, where they don't even have to have implemented it as long as they have analyzed everyone's home, like for instance on the block, and then figured out what things need to be done. So that's a whole nother thing that can be done in combination with disaster planning. Like if there's an earthquake, you can map your neighborhood, figure out where everyone's gas and electricity shutoffs are, and also give everybody little things to put in their window. So if there's a disaster like a big earthquake, they can put it, "I'm okay," or "I need help," that kind of thing. So those things can be done together to harden a neighborhood against fire and against things like earthquakes. So it's just something to think about. The city can, I know Pasadena can, I'm not sure about Altadena, but they can offer some education around that. Okay.
Also, I put in the chat the links that are on our website for rebate, different people that we go to for rebates, LA County, and also SCE, so that folks can see those links directly here.
Oh, that's great.
Beautiful.
you.
And I'm hoping we can preserve the chat for when it goes up on the website. That's great, Darlene. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions or comments? All righty. Well,
Just
okay,
very
Rosalie.
fast. I'm trying to put it in chat, but maybe I won't get done. But our city council person, I'm pretty sure it's Rivas.
Just Rivas.
What?
Just Rivas.
Yes, thank you. I'm pretty sure she helped us on our street get together for a conversation. I think it was regarding crime, but she would certainly help in District 5, what we're talking about.
Okay. Great. All right. Oh, one other thing I want to do is to tell everybody that Felix and I on, let's see, that's June 20th. That's a Saturday before Father's Day. We will be having solar home tours at our house. It's 515 Palmetto Drive. And Pasadena City, PWP will be here to talk about all their rebates. And we've got some neighbors. So we're just going to show people our solar setup in case people are interested. And they can go to our neighbors and see different setups and, what they've done. So there'll be actually 4 solar home tours available. And then that starts from 10 a.m. to noon, and then afternoon we'll have a solstice, which is the next day, celebration, little lunch if people want to stay. So please share that. I'll put in the chat, I guess, our 5:15. Oops, 10 a.m. to noon. Okay, so that's us. And yeah, so come and it'll be fun. And you'll learn all about, if you're Pasadena, you'll learn about the Pasadena rebates. And our city councilor, Steve Madison, will be on hand to make a few comments. Okay, so I just wanted to get that out there before I forgot. Okay, anything else?
Well, I guess, I mean, it's over time, but there's one person, if the iPhone 2, oh, I guess that's Marie.
It's my, yeah.
If she wanted
I
to
have a
talk,
question about, we always talk about solar for power generation, but I, there are also wind turbines, and can you, for residential, can you talk about that? And is that permitted?
well, I mean, I think there might, I'm not sure on permitting, there probably aren't even allowed because of height restrictions or something, but even other than that, the
Well,
little wind turbines, there's too many interruptions of the boundary layer in a residential environment. So you wouldn't get a consistent, we don't get consistent breezes anyways, pretty much in the Pasadena area. We don't get a lot of wind. And so they just wouldn't be cost effective.
they wouldn't be. I mean,
No.
I have one area in my yard, not on my house, but in my yard, where there's always wind. And even a slight breeze. It's amazing. Um,
Well, I mean that's terrific, but I
but
mean you can measure it actually if you put, you could make a measurement to see what kind of wind velocity you're getting there over a span of, many months. And then you
yeah,
could easily translate that into how cost effective it would be, because wind turbines do need on the order of like 15 miles an hour at least, maybe 12 miles an hour, steady breeze to make it worthwhile. Otherwise, it's because they're expensive to purchase. They're more expensive
uh,
than solar
mhm,
panels.
mhm. I see. So, and I don't know how many of these you need. I mean, I've seen that in Europe they have developed all these neat little devices that aren't large at all, but I
Well,
don't
they
know.
have, I know in Canada, when we lived in British Columbia, they had, our neighbors had put on their roof little rooftop wind capture things because we were up on a mountain.
Uh-huh.
And so I imagine the higher your elevation, like for instance, Santa Clarita has nonstop breezes. But
Yeah.
I think that's true in Pasadena because we're in a valley.
Well,
It's,
we live in La Cañada, so it's
yeah, there you
I
go.
think there was a company called Tulip, and they had a couple panels and a couple little wind things, and it was again like the plug and play that Rob was talking about, where you just plug it in. So
uh-huh.
it might be
Okay.
possible. I think it
You
was
want to put
called
it in the
Tulip.
chat, Felix? Stick it in
I,
the
I don't
chat.
know if I'm on my phone, but I could send it. I
Okay.
can look real quick, but I don't think I'd find it.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
anyway, all right.
All of these things are possible. It's just, when it comes down to the purchase questions, is it, do you want to spend that much money and get what return do you get out of it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
These were
usually
like 3,000-4,000,
tricky.
I think, for the units, but yeah.
Oh, it's not okay.
Yeah.
Although, the solar has sort of an expiration after 20 years, which you wouldn't have necessarily with the turbines. Mm.
Well, but turbines have more moving parts, so they actually break far, far more frequently than solar panels.
Okay.
Um, so I think, it, 20 years is kind of, or 25 years is an advertised length to kind of protect the vendor of these things.
Yeah.
But there are solar panels that I have personally witnessed and
Uh-huh.
read about it that are 40 years old and they're
Oh,
still
wow.
producing.
Wow.
They're not tip top, but they're still producing quite a bit of energy,
Yeah,
so
yeah. And they were also from panels that were developed 40 years ago, so less efficient.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have just added the thing Felix was talking about.
Oh, okay. Oh,
And
okay.
it's called flowerturbines.com. And I
Uh-huh.
don't
I
know if you
see.
can use them down here. I mean, I don't know because this was Canada, but it's flowerturbines.com.
Yeah, and I even saw some when I was in New York. Now, New York may have more wind, no, although not necessarily in Brooklyn. And they were on a facility. They had them outside along the fence. They had, I don't know, 20 different little turbines going.
Yeah,
And,
so we'll
and
just
you couldn't even see them. You didn't hear them, nothing. I mean, it was just amazing.
Well, but I have to, I have to interject. My shtick here today is on demand reduction.
Yeah,
And
I'm
so,
sorry.
no, it's fine to talk about this, but I'm just going to keep hammering away that, rather than just sort of going with what have and just trying to flip out, whatever current energy source with wind and solar,
Mm-hmm.
it's better to reduce what you're consuming right off the bat, and then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can flip out put in wind or solar, and it's smaller,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the reason,
Mm-hmm.
it's a smaller resource. So it's
Yeah,
small, think of negawatts, I guess, right? Negative, like savings,
mm-hmm.
what you don't use.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
all right. Any more comments or are we done here kind of? All right. Okay. Well, listen, thanks everyone for joining. And this was a great discussion. And Rob, especially thanks to you for a really wonderful, very clear presentation. That was excellent. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm going to
That's
put my
very
little
kind.
react in. Yay.
Um,
Woo!
and Darlene, if you want to get in touch more, just I put my email in the
I've
chat.
already started my email.
Okay, yeah, so I should get rid of your
Thank you.
Gmail. Is that right,
Yes,
Rob?
please.
Okay.
I'm trying to divorce myself from Google.
Google. Yeah. I hear you.
Oh,
All right, everybody.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right.
Take
Nice.
care.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, stop
Bye, Jamie.
recording.